She said my wife was in non-compliance and that she was authorized to enforce physical removal. Then she raised her arm 3 feet away, blade flashing under the morning sun. 3 strikes. The shears weren't for trimming grass. I still remember the sound, the metallic click when steel met bone, the way the blood hit my father's wind chime. I didn't even scream. I just felt the world tilt, the air thicken, and I knew the neighborhood had finally crossed a line it couldn't hide behind bylaws anymore. My name's Soren Clem. I don't carry a badge. I don't carry a gun. What I carry is a trauma kit, a calm voice, and a lifetime of keeping people alive when everything goes sideways. But this wasn't war. This was my front yard. Stonewheel Ridge looks perfect from the outside. Identical lawns, pastel fences, the kind of place where everyone smiles, but no one waves. My father carved that driftwood bellpost after Okinawa, planted it right in the center of the yard where he buried his memories. He told me once, if anyone ever tries to silence that sound, you better know why you're fighting. I didn't think it would ever come to that, until Mara Edgerton moved in. Mara was the kind of HOA president who made power look like perfume-sweet choking and impossible to ignore. She fined us $75 for an unapproved vertical structure, doubled it the next month. Then she showed up with remediation papers, clipboard in one hand, shears in the other. When she lunged at Lena, it didn't feel real. It felt rehearsed, like she'd been waiting for the chance. I dropped beside Lena before her knees even hit the grass. Pulse weak, entry wound lower left. I sealed it, whispered her name until her pupils fought their way back. Neighbors stood frozen behind trimmed hedges, staring but not helping. That's the problem with places like this. Everyone's so afraid of conflict, they mistake it for peace. By the time the deputies came, Mara sat on the curb, hands folded, waiting like she was at a bus stop. She wasn't cuffed, just detained for questioning. I remember thinking, if the law won't stop her, I will. But later that night, when the hospital lights flickered and Lena was being cut open by strangers in masks, I felt hollow. Maybe I should have just taken the post down. Maybe none of this had to happen. That's the thought that kills you. It's how people like Mara win. I opened the VIN portal on my Slate, the Veteran Integrity Network. Every citation, every HOA email she'd sent, I uploaded all of it. I'd been logging her for months, ever since she tried to evict a woman with epilepsy because her alert dog disturbed the visual harmony, or when she fined a widow for installing a ramp without decorative skirting. She weaponized rules like knives. I'd been waiting for her to make one mistake too many, and now, with Lena bleeding under surgical lights, I wasn't waiting anymore. The next morning, I found a new citation stuffed in my mailbox, time-stamped 2 hours before the stabbing. Unauthorized vertical installation. She'd planned it. She wanted the attack to look like protocol. But there's always a paper trail, and I knew how to follow it. That night, Ezrin called. Old man, shaky-voiced treasurer of the board. I didn't sign it, he said, and I think I have something you need to see. We met behind Lot 12 by the storm pond where there were no cameras. He handed me a folder, 7 years of violation slips. Half of them forged, most of them aimed at anyone who ever told Mara no. She made me sign them, he whispered. Said the computer was down. I thought it was just formality. I told him it wasn't formality, it was evidence, the kind of evidence that breaks empires. That's when Vin flagged her for fraud, missing HOA funds, shell accounts, fake audits. A field agent named Sawyer showed up the next day, calm-focused with that government neutrality that says more than it hides. We've been watching her for months, she told me. You're the trigger. She handed me a small drive. Gather 3 testimonies: pattern violations, medical exemption denials, structural disputes. Once they're filed, we call an emergency recall vote. By law, she's done. For a second, I didn't know if I could do it. My wife was still in recovery. My hands were still shaking every time I heard the wind chime, and some part of me still wondered, what if I'm just making it worse? What if I become what I hate? But then I thought about my father, about the bullet still buried in that wooden post, about what it meant to fight for something that couldn't defend itself. That was the moment I stopped being scared. I started knocking on doors, Alan from Lot 42, he'd seen Mara printing flyers accusing me of attacking her. Mira from Lot 59, her husband died after the HOA denied his oxygen canopy for being aesthetic pollution. Every story added weight. Every signature was a nail in Mara's perfect little coffin. Vin's portal flashed, threshold reached, emergency vote authorized. I printed 12 packets, evidence summaries, timelines, witness statements. Slid them under every door on the block. By morning, the red inspection stakes in my yard were gone. For the first time in months, the chimes rang without fear. At 5 o'clock, the community rec center filled up. I could feel the tension before I even stepped inside. Folding chairs, bad coffee, and a crowd of neighbors who finally looked ready to breathe. Mara stood near the front in a tailored blazer, eyes sharp as glass, clutching a fresh stack of violation slips. Still walking freely, "I see," she said, smiling like she hadn't stabbed anyone. "Heard your wife might not make it." I looked her straight in the eye. "She made it," I said. Her smile twitched. When the county trustee called the meeting to order, Mara raised her hand to interrupt. "I object to this farce," noted the trustee said. "Rejected." The room went dead quiet. Under HOA bylaw 9.3d, this session will determine the removal of President Mara Edgerton for fraud, misuse of authority, and procedural harassment. The words hung like a sentence being read aloud. Ballots were passed around. No speeches, just paper pens and the sound of people reclaiming their voices. I signed mine, folded it once, and waited. Mara paced like a caged animal, eyes flicking from face to face, realizing too late that fear wasn't working anymore. When the results came back, the trustee didn't even flinch. Total ballots 47, majority required 26. Votes in favor of removal 39. The room exhaled. Soft applause, cautious but real. Mara didn't move. Then suddenly she snapped. "You think this ends anything? That post of yours still violates design code." The trustee looked up. "That post is protected under ADA symbolic exemption law, filed this morning by VIN legal counsel." That broke her. She turned jaw tight and walked out. No words, no power, no audience left to fear her. I didn't cheer. I just stood there listening. The fluorescent hum faded, replaced by the faint echo of wind through glass doors. Outside, the air felt lighter, like someone had finally opened a window in a room that had been sealed for years. I walked home slow past the same houses she used to patrol, the fences she measured, the ramps she banned. The world hadn't changed shape, but the silence had. It wasn't submission anymore, it was relief. When I reached my yard, I stopped. The driftwood post stood there under the late sun, the chimes swaying gently, singing to no one and everyone at once. No more red tags, no more warnings, just wind and a sound that meant we'd survived. I sat on the porch and let the quiet settle. The VIN portal on my laptop blinked once. Case closed, intervention complete. Below it, all findings referred to county civil court. That was their part. Mine was done. The thing about power is it doesn't die when you fight it. It dies when people stop obeying it out of habit. Mara built her kingdom on silence, and silence was exactly what took it away from her. Sometimes you don't beat tyranny by shouting louder. You beat it by standing still, letting the wind speak for you, and never letting them take the sound away.